Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Well, thank you so much once again for joining us for the Pastor's Potluck podcast. Today we have a fun one. Today's going to be a real fun one because we're going to maybe learn something new about New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, like that whole celebration that goes with it. But welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks.
Pastor Jessica. You are our resident holiday expert.
I'm starting to see that.
Are you excited about the New Year's Eve celebration, New Year's Day, all that goes with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't do anything major, but it's just a fun, like, I don't know. It's almost like a refresh, I guess.
What's a typical New Year's Eve? I mean, you only get to do it once a year. And how old are you? Do you care to share that with anybody?
No, I don't care. I'm 37.
Okay, 37. And you've had 37 New Year's Eves. And how do we ask this? You probably remember maybe the last 25 of them, maybe.
I do remember, so this is really random. So when I was in high school, I do remember, like when it was 1999 to 2000 and everybody, it was like 2K.
Yeah.
I remember we were at friends' house. Like we had some friends from church that we had all gone to their house for like a big New Year's Eve party. And, people were crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's 2000. Like, what's going to happen? And I'm like, dude, chill out.
The Y2K
Yes,
debacle.
the Y2K debacle.
Yeah.
It was wild. I do remember that, though. That was interesting. People were outside screaming at midnight, and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just another year. Like,
yeah, it was kind of like a Hunger Games mentality.
Yes.
Like, we got limited resources, and we've got to stock up.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost kind of reminiscent of, like, whenever the pandemic hit.
COVID, yeah.
But, I mean.
COVID 2K.
Yeah. So, funny story about Y2K is I had an aunt and uncle, and I still do, obviously, but they stocked up.
Oh,
they
people
stocked
did.
up. Like, they converted, like, their whole upstairs to their house, and they put shelves in. They bought, like, army surplus, like, style food. So it wasn't just like, let me just go to the store and buy a couple cans of beans, and they'll figure it out if something, like, were to happen. No. They bought, like, these big...
The rations.
The 5-gallon baked beans. They bought more water than you could imagine, like oil barrels full of water.
Oh my goodness.
They bought flour and sugar and but like the army ration style stuff, so like it would last a lot longer. And they were trying to convince all the family members about, like, hey, like, they were talking to my dad and they were like, David, you should really, really, really at least just stock up on water. He goes, I've got like 40,000 gallons in my pool behind the house. I was like, if push comes to shove, like, I can really drink, like, I could boil it, I could drink it, like, I could do whatever I need to do to survive. But
what did they do with it afterwards, though?
No, like, they ate off of this food for like 12, 15 years. Like, it was insane.
Crazy.
Absolutely insane.
That
and, like, they were trying to give it away because they were getting tired of eating.
It's like those, like, extreme
if you open
couponers, like, that you see, like, those TV shows, and they have, like,
they convert,
these pantries full, or, like, their whole basement full of things. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why? I don't get that. Like, that's just a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of excess.
Well, I mean, it's like in those types of situations, you got to, like take a step back and kind of look at it. Okay,
yeah.
So if I've got beans and I've just got like a couple small cans of beans, then, I can eat, a can of beans for this meal. But once you open up like a 5-gallon big old jar of beans, like, you are eating beans until they go until you are done, because you don't want it to go bad.
No.
Like, I mean, and
You're gonna
you
have
could get
beans.
frustrated.
It's like what is that? Forrest Gump, where he's like, you can have shrimp Creole, shrimp this, shrimp that. You're gonna have beans this and beans that. You're gonna have all the
beans, baked beans. We're gonna have refried beans. We're gonna have like mashed beans.
Use them all for everything.
We're gonna learn how to make bean bread and learn how to make bean ice cream,
bean soup. You got it all.
Yeah, for real. So that it's a funny story. I mean, they just couldn't give away the food. So now you have attended probably one of the most sought after New Year's Eve celebrations in New York.
I have.
So now it's you can't just like randomly show up. You've got to buy tickets for this.
No, you don't. You don't have to buy tickets, but you do have to have a little bit of planning. For this. We did. So
now you can buy tickets if you want to be like in certain spots, correct?
I don't know. I mean, when we did our research, I never saw anything about buying tickets. You probably can buy tickets to like VIP things, but like the things you see on TV, people are crazy and they literally show up at dark 30 and in their diapers and they stay for hours and some people even for days just to get like right there. Yeah. It's crazy. It is crazy. But yes, in 2012, going into 13, my brother and sister-in-law had just gotten married that summer, and they were like, this is on our list, like our bucket list of things we want to do. We know, like, when we start a family, we're probably not going to get to do this. Like, let's go. And so they called my mom and dad and they were like, hey, do you guys want to go with us? And of course, my mom and dad are like, yeah. And I lived in Kansas City. And so they called and they were like, can you get a few more days off for Christmas? We're going to New York for New Year's Eve. And I said, stop it right now. Say no more. I had never been to New York before, ever. Yeah. So in 2012 was the first time I'd ever stepped foot into New York City. And it is now one of my favorite places on the face of this earth. And, so we do our Christmas stuff. We do everything Christmas. And we knew, like, going into it, like, this is what we were doing. So, like, my sister-in-law and I, Megan and I, had, like, done all this massive research on, like, what you can do, what can you take. Because it's not just you really shouldn't just show up. Yeah. I mean, you really do kind of have to put some, like, thought and intentionality in behind it because you just show up and you're going to freeze. Like, if you just show up, you're really going to freeze. Yeah. And so it's a really kind of a matter of, like, knowing what you can bring because there are some things that you can't bring into your corral. Yes, you are corralled like a bunch of animals. Yeah. You're put in a corral. And so there's things that you can and can't bring into that corral. And so kind of having to know those things in advance. But we did. So in 2012, going into 13, we went. We stayed in Jersey. We stayed across the river in Secaucus. And so we stayed there. And we went in on the 30th, I think we drove in on like the 30th and got there and we walked into the city. My first time, my family had all been there before, but my first time we walked in, we're standing there in Times Square and all I could do was like look around and I'm like, how are we supposed to see all of this city? Yeah. In like 24 hours basically.
Yeah, nope. Not going to happen.
And so we did a double-decker bus tour and this makes sense once we get to the to Times Square because so we did a 2-day like 24-hour double-decker bus tour pass. So we get on that double-decker bus on the 30th. We do all of our stuff. We do our half day. And then on the 31st was the same. So here we are, New Year's Eve. I mean, you think New York City's crowded anyways, but New York City at New Year's Eve, I'd say it's probably the same as like a Macy's parade type Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah. But so here we go and we get in there and the double-decker tours start to close down early because you can't get to other boroughs because they've shut things down. And so I don't even know what time it is, but I don't even know. And we have to get off the bus because there's no other places to go. Yeah. So we hadn't eaten. We're trying to get food, and we're trying to get into McDonald's in Times Square to get food. We just wanted to get food before we got into our corral, and that did not happen. And so it was about 3:00. We turned the corner into Times Square and get landlocked in with thousands of people to the point where you could not even move. It was crazy. People had baby strollers that they were like carrying above their head. I'm like, first of all, why you got your baby down here? Like, that's crazy. Yeah. But we got in our corral and we were starving. And so it was about $40 for a Domino's pizza. It was lovely.
Yeah.
But once you get in your corral, you don't get out. So if you have to use the bathroom or any of that, you don't get to.
They don't have like porta potties or anything like that?
No, once you're in your corral, you don't get out. Now
so from 3 o'clock.
From 3 o'clock until midnight, you don't want to drink coffee, you don't want to drink hot chocolate, anything. You don't want to do any of that because you don't get out. Once you're in your pen, you don't get out.
That I don't want to do it.
That's why I said diapers. People want their diapers.
That is
people will literally wear diapers. Is that not crazy? Like, no.
No, I don't want to do it.
No. My mom and dad made it till 9, and then they said, we're out. We can't do this.
Yeah.
And my mom was so excited. And we laughed. We were like, dude, are you kidding me? We just drove 9 hours to New York for New Year's Eve, and you're not even making it? And exact words were, I can say that I have seen the ball in Times Square on New Year's Eve. I don't need to see it drop.
Yep.
My goodness. She didn't. She and my dad got back on the transit, went back to the hotel, and they didn't stay and watch it.
Yeah.
So
what did y'all do to pass time?
We met some people. Like, there were some people in front of us that had brought some card games that they were playing. There's concerts that go on before that. So like if you ever watch like the New Year's Rockin' Eve stuff.
I don't.
It's what you see on TV is not it's not all the bells and whistles that is actually taking place there.
Yeah.
So the year that we went, there were a bunch of different artists that were doing like concerts. So there's concerts going on while you're there.
Anyone
but those
worthwhile?
Concerts you couldn't hear. So we were 2.5 blocks, city blocks, back from the stage. We were back, if anybody's been to New York, we were at the M&M store, like right outside the M&M store in Times Square. And everything else takes place like right in the heart, where like the red stairs and stuff are. That's where everything else kind of takes place. And so while we weren't that far back, the acoustics, it was hard to see. The screens were really small. You kind of knew who was on stage, but not really. The Gangnam Style guy, whatever. Yeah. So he was there the year we went. Taylor Swift was there the year we went. Train was there the year we went. But I did not ever see Ryan Seacrest. Never saw him. Yeah. You don't see him at all.
No, he's usually off to the side on like a podium by himself.
You never saw him on the screens, nothing. I mean, never, ever. So that's like a whole production that...
Would you do it again?
No. I know why they say it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, because you only want to do it once.
Yeah, you only want to do it
But
once.
I will say, it was really cool. Like, we did, like I said, me and Scott and Megan, we stuck it out. We waited till midnight.
Yeah.
You know, you do the countdown. You have all that kind of fun stuff. And it really was. Once that ball drops and just kind of like that whole atmosphere, confetti comes, like they shoot these huge confetti cannons off the top of the buildings, and it's raining confetti down on you. Like, I still have confetti that I picked up, and it was fun. But it's not necessarily something I would do again. I can say I've done it, which is great, because not a lot of people can say. People that live in New York have even said that they haven't done that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so I can say I've done it, but I don't ever necessarily want to do it again. But it was fun. We did have a good time. But I would not suggest going to New York City on New Year's Eve as your first time ever being in New York.
Yeah, no.
Ever.
I don't want to do it. Just not being able to use the restroom and, $40 for a pizza. And I'm the type of person, like, I don't do a whole lot of like New Year's Eve celebrations or anything. Like, I've stayed up a couple times. But I worked in the service industry for the longest time. And so I just dealt with like a lot of belligerent people.
Oh, I'm sure.
Working in a bar and stuff like that. And I've had my fair share of ringing in the new year, and my kids, regardless, are going to wake up at 6:30 in the morning anyways. So I would rather be well rested for whatever shenanigans they're wanting to get into the next day. So, do you know, if you had to guess, like how many people on average attended the New Year's Eve celebration? How many people would you guess?
Oh my gosh. I'd say close to 100,000.
1 million people.
Really?
1 million people jam in.
I was
to
one of
New
those
York.
Crazy million people.
Yeah, every single year.
Yeah.
Now you said like the confetti and like, so whenever y'all are leaving, was it just like absolute filthy?
No, it really wasn't. I mean, it stays right there down that main strip in Times Square. I mean, you can see it shooting and it hits, but I will tell you, like, no, I mean, it was just confetti is all it was. I mean, I didn't see anything else, but I mean, but really you don't have anything else because you're not supposed to take things in to the pins. Like, you're not supposed to take book bags or anything like that that would have a bunch of other stuff in it.
Yeah.
The pizza places that are right there in Times Square delivered. They were very smart with their with their stuff. So they were delivering like hot chocolate and pizzas and things like that. So you may have seen pizza boxes, but they were covered with confetti. So
yeah.
But I mean, I guess they just clean it up the next day or overnight. I'm not really
overnight,
sure.
Yeah, because things have to get back to normal.
Yeah.
I read a statistic about it, and they said that more than 56 tons of trash are left in Times Square after the celebrations.
I believe it.
And the amount of weight in confetti is 1.5 tons of confetti is shot.
It's a mess. I mean, you look up and like, have you ever been? You might not have because, you know, that southerner in you, but have you ever been in like a whiteout snowstorm and you look up and all you see is white snow coming down? Like,
no, never.
That is what it is with the confetti. I mean, as soon as they say Happy New Year, you hear the, I think it's New York or whatever it is that's playing on the thing. And I mean, it is just pouring down. It looks like just these red, green, purple, pink things that are just falling everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can't imagine just I feel sorry for like the sanitation workers that have to go through, because it's not like you can just take like one of those sweeper trucks. Like most of it has to be shoveled into like trash cans and then lifted up.
Well, and it's got to go other places. Like people get it on their shoes and it's going to go 5 blocks. You know what I mean?
For sure.
It's going to go
I'm
everywhere.
sure that, you know, it's not all going to get picked up, but 56 tons of trash.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. So, like, I think they use like the same ball that drops every single year.
The ball stays the same. It's always, you can always see it. So if you ever go to New York and you want to see the Times Square ball, you can always see it, or the New Year's Eve ball. It's always there. It sits on the top of the building. And it just, the thing that changes is just the year. So the year changes. Sometimes they'll use different colors or different crystals or whatever the case may be on the ball. Yeah. And they normally give those updates on like the show, like the New Year's Rockin' Eve show or whatever. They'll tell you like, this year our ball is made of
Swarovski crystals.
Yeah, what all those fancy words are, but that it's always there. It doesn't leave. It stays there.
It's always on top of the building?
Mm-hmm, yeah. You can always see it.
I wonder if it like gradually goes back up throughout the year, and then on the last day it drops back down.
I don't know. It's always been at the bottom whenever I've been there. Like, gotcha. I've always seen it. Like, I see it every time I go, and it's always just kind of hanging out at the bottom. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe they move it throughout the year, but whenever I've been there, it's always been like the year, and then the ball sits right on top of the year.
Now, do you know the first year that it made its debut? The ball?
No, I do not.
1907 was the first year that the ball was put on top of the building and it dropped.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while. They've been doing it for a while.
I don't think I realized that it had been doing that for that long.
Yeah. And there's only been 2 years that they have not had the ball drop since its inception, and they didn't have any celebrations at all.
World War II?
You're exactly right. 1942 and 1943, because they were afraid that enemy airplanes would come, because that was like one of the major tactics in World War II was just air raiding and dropping all kinds of bombs. And so during those celebrations, they didn't have any lights. Because every city had to go through a blackout. Yeah. So they couldn't find like the major cities. Now, obviously, technology has advanced a lot to where they just rely on computers to tell them. But back then, it was always just like by line of sight. There was always some guy in the bottom of a plane that would tell you, hey, we need to start dropping bombs. Yeah. And so during 1942 and 1943, they didn't they didn't have the celebrations, or they may have had the celebrations, but there
Just
was
not
no bright lights at all.
lit up.
Yeah.
New York, Times Square is a lit up place anyways, so.
Yeah, I mean, but the whole city had to go dark, which is, I mean, it's kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of like a crazy statistic, but kind of makes sense, like, why they did it.
Oh, for sure.
Now, if you had to guess how much the ball weighed.
Oh, I've heard this before. I don't know. I've heard this before, though.
It is over 11,500 pounds.
Golly.
I mean,
it's huge. Yeah. I mean, it's massive.
Yeah. I mean, it's big for people that stand, like, from what I've heard, like, for people that are standing on the ground and they're looking up at it. Like, it's ginormous.
Well, I mean, we were 2.5 city blocks back and could still see it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge. It really is. It's massive.
Yeah. 11,500 pounds over that. So, yeah. And so nowadays, what is a typical, like, do you stay up and watch the like all the way through, or do you like, I'm just going to call it a night?
No, I still watch. I watched last year. I did, Elevation does their, whatever that is,
their
countdown and all that. So I was listening to that on my AirPods and my phone, but the ball was dropping on the TV. Because I don't know, there's just something about watching the ball drop that is just, I don't know, I think it takes me back to my childhood.
Yeah.
And knowing that, like, I've been there, like, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Those people are crazy.
I don't know that I've ever watched the ball drop on television. Yeah. I don't know that I care to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a lot of people in New York, and it's just not, I don't find it entertaining to watch people. Okay, like, I don't find it entertaining to watch other people celebrate and have a good time about celebrating
when you're not doing it.
Yeah, especially if I'm not doing it. I mean, I think I would rather watch paint dry. But, like, like my kids are small. Like I said, they're going to wake up in the morning, like, really early. And so what we have done is we have done what over half of parents do every single year with their kids. And so we count down, like, early, like at 9 p.m.
I think Netflix has a countdown. Did you know this?
Netflix has a countdown?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Netflix that has done that right there, because parents don't want to stay up till midnight with their kids.
Yeah.
They've created this, like, kids countdown.
All right, that's
kind
of
like
cool.
Netflix or YouTube, one of the two. But it's just for kids, and they do that. And so then you can just watch it and be like, Happy New Year, let's go to bed.
Exactly. It's time for bed.
Yep.
And, a couple of things, like, Erica, like, after the kids go to bed, Erica and I will kind of sit up and kind of talk about the year and, some high points and some low points and kind of like what we're looking forward to, in the next year. So, looking back on this past year, what has been a high point for you? If you had to, like, put your finger on one thing, like, what is something that stands out for you in the year 2021?
Oh, goodness. I don't know if there would just be one thing, but if I had to pick one thing, I think it would be standing. This is going to sound silly because without context, you would not know what this meant, but it was the Friday before Beauty Day. I was standing in the worship center, and Pastor Cheryl came up and said, "Hey, I've been thinking and praying, and I really think that you should be part of our teaching team this summer." And I said, "Not me. No, Scott's the preacher in the family, not me. Like, I don't do that."
Yeah.
She's like, "No, I really think that I've really been praying about this, and I really think that you really need to be a part of this teaching team this summer." She was like, "The theme is life verse, and I really think you need to be a part of it." And I was like, "No way." But I can honestly say that her conversation with me that day was really kind of what sparked her and I to continue to, like, have these conversations about these constant conversations of, hey, are you going to be a part of this teaching team this summer? Hey, are you going to do this? And I'm like, I'm praying about it. I don't know. And every time I prayed about it, I never got a resounding no. So I figured it was probably a resounding yes, since there was never that like, no, you don't need to do this. And so I ended up doing it. But I think it was that conversation with Cheryl that she and I had that kind of opened the door to, hey, we want you to be a part of this teaching team this summer, to, hey, she's actually the one that said, hey, I really think that you should think about applying to be the children's pastor here at Southridge. I've prayed about it. I just can't get you off my mind. And I just really feel like maybe the reason we haven't found someone, is because you need to do this. And I was like, I don't know. I just don't know about that. But I think that those conversations with Cheryl probably really kind of changed the trajectory of where I thought things were going. Yeah. Because in March, I had applied for grad school to do my master's in social work, and I had already applied. And so by July, from March to July, everything changed. I'm still in grad school. I'm still doing that because I applied for that back in March, and I did not want to complete that.
Congratulations on the successful semester that you've had.
Thank you. I got a 4.0.
I know. Dude, think about it. Grad school, social work.
Yes.
Kids pastor, all these other things that you just can't say no to. That's one of the things I just admire about you, is that any type of ministry, you always jump in head first, which I think is great. And so you've got all these things going on in life. And then you've also are probably, I think that you are in the running for top aunt. Okay. for your nieces and nephews, and then you've got some adopted ones as well.
I do.
From Megan's side of the family as well, and even my kid, you've taken Ryan and hung out with Livy and all of them. So, but you've got all this going on, and so just I don't even know where I was going with this. My mind was I just brain. It's the end of the year, people. Give me a break. But yeah, so you've got all these things going on, and then, ministry, and then you jump into full-time ministry. Yeah. Which is crazy.
So I think that would probably be the thing. I did not expect this to be where I was going to be. I mean, like I said, I finished, people ask all the time, well, you're getting your master's, but you just started at the church. Why are you still doing that? And I was like, well, because I've wanted to do my master's for 4 years now. And I feel like if I don't do it now, then I'm never going to do it, Plus, the master's thing really kind of fell into my lap, and it came at just the right time. And then God was like, I still want you to do both. Yeah. And I think this past semester has actually been a real testament to the fact that I can do both. Yeah. Because there were times where I'm like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do all of this? This new to full-time ministry, trying to figure out what that looks like, how that works, but also full-time, master's student with a 450-hour internship. So where do you, how does all of that balance? And there's not been one time where I've had to looking back on the semester, I myself have been oh my gosh. Yeah. But looking back and knowing there have been times where it's oh my goodness in my head, but at the same time now getting those final grades and seeing all of we just finished Jingle Jam and seeing all of that and kind of looking back and being wow, okay, we can do this. Not me. I'm not doing this by myself at all, but we can do this. Yeah. And I think that's probably just been the biggest thing, because it's just a reminder that God is with me. Yeah. I read in my devotional on Monday, it's from Isaiah, and it says, when you go through the waters, I will be with you. Yep. And I've read that verse probably 1,000 times and we've sang multiple songs that have that theme. But I think when I was sitting there on Monday, I was sitting in my office and I was reading that, and it was when you go through this, when this happens, and then it hit me, and I'm Jessica, it doesn't say if these things are going to happen. It says when these things are going to happen. Like you're going to have these things happen to you. Like, you know, you're going to have a teacher that's not going to turn her grades in on time and you're going to freak out for 4 days. Like that's going to happen. You know, you're going to have someone that gets sick and can't come to Jingle Jam. Like those little things, like when those things happen, I'm still right there with you. And so I've definitely seen that over the last 5 months. And so just to think back to March and just think I was putting one new thing on my plate and God was like, haha, just kidding. You're going to get 2 new things on your plate.
Well, probably 200 whenever you jump into ministry.
By the time it's said and done.
With all the moving parts and everything else. So that's awesome. I mean, it's just, that's a good thing just to, I guess if you were to take one thing away from, it's just that a personal connection between you and God, that you know that he is faithful in whatever you are going through. And it's whenever you have that type of mentality, then then your life and your experiences begin to be a ministry just in itself to other people that are struggling with those things. Like, God, I don't feel you in these situations, and your life and what God has brought you through. And just, yes, there's probably been some stressful times for you because you've got all these projects for school. You're learning the ins and outs of ministry. And on top of that, like, you're trying to also, you know, like just the ins and outs of ministry. So you've got scheduling and people and volunteers and curriculum and everything else that goes with that. But then on top of that, you've actually got actual ministry that has to happen as well. And so you could have felt multiple times that the waters were overtaking you and that they were about to sweep you away, but God was there with you. So share that with someone, you know, use your life as a testimony for people.
So it's funny because that came at just the right time. So last year, I don't know. COVID has got me all confused. I don't know what year we're in or how long COVID's even been going on at this point in time.
2021.
We're going on what? 18 months, 2 years almost.
It'll be 2 years in March.
2 years on March the 13th, my birthday.
Oh, ooh,
because
awesome.
Literally we all went out for my birthday on the 13th, and by that Monday, everything had shut down.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was shut the world down that day. But so yeah, it'll be 2 years. But right at the beginning of COVID, I had started. It was that first summer. I had started a I don't know if you want to call it a blog or what you want to call it. I don't know. It's on Facebook. It's not like on like a blog spot thing or anything like that. But I had started a little blog or whatever that I called The Empty Chair. And so anyways, I write on that and write in it, on it, whatever. Not as much as I used to at the beginning, just because life. But this week I wrote about that, like that specific thing that I was just talking about when I go through the waters, I'll be with you, because my bedroom looked atrocious. And I walked in the other day and I was like, how did you let this get like this?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I was just sitting there and I thought, so many times we have to like put this like best foot forward. Like, we don't want people to see the unfiltered version of ourselves. We don't want people to see the messy house or the, messed up car. Don't look at my car right now. It's a hot mess. My car's always a hot mess.
Yeah.
But we don't want people to see those like non-perfect personas that we actually do have.
Yeah.
And so I posted the other day on The Empty Chair and I said, let's just be real. Like, let's be real. This is what my life looks like right now. Like, here's me. And if you want to see what's sitting right behind me, it's a desk that has all kinds of junk on it. And then I said, here's this new bed, this pretty like Christmas bedding, whatever.
Yeah.
But let's go to the end of the bed. Let's look at this. And no lie, I am not kidding you. I mean, like the mountains of clean clothes that were piling up at the bottom of my bed. I could not get from my one side of my bed to my closet. There was that much junk there. And I thought, how did we get to this? Like, how did we get to this?
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? Some things just have to give. Like, when life gets crazy, and it gets crazy.
Yeah. When
those things happen, not if those things happen, but when those things happen, sometimes you got to just be like, whatever.
Yeah.
Just go with it. It'll get done. It's done now. I sat down the other night and I did it, but I wrote about that in my blog about how, like, we want this perfect, we want people to think that we've got it all together, and we don't have it all together.
Yeah.
Even as pastors, we don't have it all together.
Amen.
Shocker, right?
Yeah.
But like, we don't have it all together. And so, I think for me, like, that has kind of been my big thing, is like making sure that, I don't care to let people know that my bedroom looks like that. Who cares? Like, that's what it looks like. That's just real life.
Yep.
But sharing that, because I think a lot of times when we do share those things, there's other people that go through things that we're going through, but a lot of times we think we're the only ones going through that.
Yep.
And so when we share those things, when we let people know, when we let people in, we find out, oh, wait a minute, you've gone through that too? Oh, your bedroom looks like that too?
Yeah.
Oh, your life looks like that too? Because when we don't, then other people think that what they're going through, they're the only ones going through it. And that's just not the case.
Yep.
It's just not the case.
Yep. For sure. Any good books you read this past year?
Actually, I went on I haven't read anything like, so the church, staff just read Invitational Life. Loved that book. I really did. It was a really great book. But prior to school, I had read, starting in January of last year, there's a Christian author. Her name is Karen Kingsbury. And my mom has tons of her books, and she's been on me to read the Baxter series. And I'm like, Mom, that's a lot of books. Well, I read the first one, and I am not kidding you. I think I have read 12 or 15 of those books since January and last year. And then of course August came and grad school and everything else, and so I hadn't been able to pick up one of those books in quite some time, and I just got to pick up the one the other day, and so I started reading the next book in that series. And I also read this past year, I read some Francine Rivers books. She's another Christian author. I really like her stuff too. And so I've read a couple of her books too. But other than that, it's really interesting things, like psychopathology and advanced clinical practice. Those really great,
just dig your teeth in. You just can't wait to get rid of it or get through it.
Yeah. Gonna sell those back to the bookstore as soon as I can.
Yeah. Now, if you had to look back on the year, what would you say was your biggest time waster?
TikTok. There is no shame, okay?
Yeah.
But it is a big time waster. I will find myself. I've had to put limits on my TikTok.
Yeah.
Like, like the Apple phones, you can set limits on how long you're on like certain apps.
Yeah.
TikTok gets an hour each day. Because if not, it will take me.
People get lost in the scroll. Like sometimes you
Yes.
just find yourself just like flipping through, and you're just like, I don't even remember anything that I just watched. So, what was some of the best ways that you spent your time?
I just with family and friends. We got to go on a 2-week vacation this summer, which that's never happened, going like for 2 consecutive weeks on vacation.
That's a significant chunk of time.
Yeah, it was wonderful. We had a great time. But that, I don't know, that was just a lot of fun. Golly, I feel like there's been so much that's gone on. I've gotten to take individual birthday trips with both my niece and my nephew. They're getting older. I say older, they're only 7 and 8, but still, like, they're not into like the toys and all that kind of fun, like that kind of stuff.
Which is really weird, like to say, like a 7 and 8-year-old.
I mean, video games, like she still plays with baby dolls, but she has about 1,000 of those. Like I'm not buying any more toys because you're going to play with them for 5 minutes and then be done. But this year I decided we're not doing gifts like that. We're going to go somewhere. We're going to have fun. And so I got to do that. She and I went to Columbus, and she got to do like a little girl's spa weekend at this little girl's boutique there. And then he and I, he's a baseball fanatic. Our whole family is. And so got to take him to the Louisville Slugger Museum. So just those kinds of fun things like that. I got to meet my new baby cousin Everett right before I started here. I took my first ever solo trip to Florida to visit my cousin right before I started this job, and got to go to Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure and spent the day at the beach and all that kind of stuff, just hanging out with my cousin, and met a friend down there and hung out with them for a week. And so just kind of being able to spend time with friends and family that I haven't necessarily because we've had to physically distance for so long, like things that we haven't gotten to do. So it's been fun to be able
just
to kind
cultivating
of pick those back up
and working on those relationships.
Yeah.
Now, if there was 3 people in the coming year that you would like to get to know better, maybe spend a little bit more time and just become maybe a better friend. 2, if you had to pick 3 people, who would those 3 people be?
Oh my goodness.
Maybe somebody that it could be like a volunteer for your ministry or somebody, so
I'll say this.
We're going to start talking about goals now, like what we want in the new year.
Well, okay. So I would say for sure, volunteers, definitely. Like there's a couple of volunteers. I'm going to be starting a leadership team for our children's ministry. I've already got names written down. So just being more intentional with those volunteers, like who they are. One of them, surprise, Terry, but you're going to be volunteered. But Terry Kinder is one that she is amazing. She was our hype person for Jingle Jam. She and I and another person, Sherry, are going to get ready to go to Florida, actually on the 9th, for a big children's pastors conference. And so I'm excited to kind of spend that time with her and just kind of continue to build that relationship and just kind of continue to see, how God's going to be able to use her and Sherry and then myself in this ministry. And, so that I'm really excited about. And then I think just being more intentional with the people that are currently in my life. Being in school right now has taken a lot of my time. Where normally on the weekends I would be at a baseball field or something along those lines. I missed a lot of that this past year, and I'm going to continue to miss some of that going forward. But just trying my best to make time for those things, like trying to make time. I know people probably think, man, she's with her family all the time. And I am, because I know the importance of my family. And I want to foster those relationships because, I mean, we don't know how much time we have. Yeah. And so just being intentional with those relationships within my family. And then I would love to be able to go and see my best friend. I haven't seen her in about 3 years. So, meet her and her little ones.
Make the time and make it happen. It's just one of those things that I am starting to always have in the back of my mind, is just, life is fleeting, and the most important thing that I am realizing is the relationships that God has, and the individuals that God has put in my path. And I just need to be more appreciative of the fact, because there's just incredible things to learn from other people. There's, just spending time with people. Yeah. My goodness. Well, I mean, we were built for community, and just kind of getting out of my comfort zone, because so many times on this podcast I've talked about all I want to do is just sit in my chair. Yeah. And I need to break that habit, and I need to put myself in a vulnerable situation, because, I mean, let's face it, I'm a weird guy. I understand that. I get it. I like weird things. I watch documentaries for There's entertainment.
You and my mom would get along great. She loves documentaries.
Yeah. And it's just, I just need to put myself in, I just need to stretch myself beyond what I have found to be comfortable, and put myself in those situations just to cultivate relationships and work on the ones that I currently have with all my friends. Yeah. So, if you could try something new in the new year and you know that it wouldn't fail, what would you try?
Oh, if I could try something in the new year and know that it
would be something
fail.
Completely new, something brand new, and you're like, you know what, maybe this is like, there's something that you've always thought, like, man, I would like to do that. I would like to do that. Or I'd like to try to do this. It's a good question.
It is, but it's hard. I don't know. Oh my goodness.
For me, it would be learn, I would love to be fluent in Spanish. Okay. I would love to learn a new language. I think that would just be awesome to be, to speak 2 languages. Bilingual? Yeah. Yes, that's the term for it.
I'm going to say So I semi kind of do this, but not to this level. But like dance. I don't know. I just love to dance. I teach refit, but like I teach it. It's not I don't want to have to teach it. I want to go and take things and like learn that kind of stuff. Not ballet kind of dancing. That's just not me.
What about like ballroom dancing either?
I would probably actually really like that. I actually probably would like that. But like, I don't know. I just really like to move and dance and music. I just love that. So something maybe along that type of realm.
Dude, if you walk in here one day and you start break dancing,
I'm gonna be a hip hop dancer.
If you start break dancing,
if I start break dancing, video it because it would never happen again.
That's what I'm saying. If you could try something, and
I would break
fail.
myself.
Yeah, I would break my back dancing. So, yeah, doing all those flips and spins and everything else like that.
There's a place down in Charleston that also does that bungee exercise thing where it's like you're jumping and doing all. I would love to do that too, but I'm afraid I'd get hurt. Yeah. I'm real accident prone, y'all.
Yeah. Now, if you could give a piece of advice for yourself, and then you can come back to this episode 6 months from now, okay? So you could set a reminder in your phone, like July 1, I'm going to come back and I want to listen to this, and I want to listen to this advice that I give myself. What advice would you give yourself?
Don't sweat the small stuff. My grandma always told us, don't make mountains out of molehills.
Molehills, yeah.
And I am the queen of making mountains out of molehills.
Yeah.
So don't sweat the small stuff, because what happens is it gets done. Like it never fails. I will like spaz out over the smallest things, and it was silly stuff. Like just silly stuff that if I would have just taken a step back and been like, oh yeah, you're right. That was really simple. Yeah. That happened Sunday before Jingle Jam. Something was going wrong, and I was like, oh my goodness. I was freaking out. And Olivia, 7 years old, she's like, Aunt Jessa, just chill out. It's going to be okay. And I'm like, I know that this 7-year-old did not just check me, but it did. And honest to goodness, it took her checking me and saying that. Like, she's like, it looks beautiful. It's going to work. And you know what it was? It was the stand for the backdrop. I could not get it to fix. It kept falling over, and I was getting so frustrated because there were 1,000 things that needed to be done, and that just was one small thing that would not work the right way. And I was like, forget it. I don't need, whatever. And I was getting so angry. And she's like, Aunt Jessa, just chill. It'll be fine. It looks beautiful. And I'm like, this 7-year-old just had to bring me back to reality because I was really getting mad at that thing. Yeah. So just don't sweat the small stuff. Because I do that a lot. Like just little things like that. When I've got big things that need to be done, something little small like that can just derail me. And then I have to take that time to kind of like reset.
It takes longer to reset than if you just look at the situations and just be like, all right, just take a deep breath. You need to take a step back
and breathe and just do it.
And then knock it out. Well, that's good. I don't have anything else.
Nothing.
No. I think this has just been I enjoyed this conversation.
I did too.
I enjoyed coming up with the questions. Now, actually, do you have any New Year's resolutions?
I don't do resolutions. I think that this is, if you do New Year's resolutions, good for you. But I think that for me with New Year's resolutions, I feel like we have these really great intentions and then they don't follow through. So I don't like doing intentions because I feel like, or intentions. I don't like doing resolutions because I feel like once you mess up, it's just like, well, forget it. Didn't do that. So I try not to do those. If I decide to do something, then I just do it. But I don't necessarily say that it's a New Year's resolution. Something new may start in the new year, but no. If anything, I would say I try to kind of come up with like a word for the new year. So this is actually really cool. I'm just going to tell you this real quick, but so I just got somebody bought me a Christmas gift, and it's a prayer planner. It's called the Prayerful Planner. And so I'm really excited. So it's like, there's a whole community on Facebook around this Prayerful Planner.
You've already got Christmas gifts?
Yeah. Well, I was house sitting for someone and they got me this planner, and it's awesome. But on the inside of it, it just has goals. Like, what are some of your goals for 2022?
Yeah.
Like your financial goals, your health goals, your just like life goals, like travel goals, like all of these kinds of things. So not resolutions, but like these goals. And then it says, what is a word that you want to live by for this year? What is a verse that you want to live for by this year? And my verse I've already written in there was the Isaiah verse. The when you go through these things, because it's going to happen. Just kind of taking a step back and remember that, but kind of having that word of like, my word last year was intentionality, like being intentional with what I do. I feel like that's actually kind of probably been my word within the last 2 years. But just being intentional, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I, if God lays somebody on my heart, I'm being intentional with reaching out to that person, not 5 days from now, but right now. There's a reason that God has put that person on your heart. Reach out to them. So kind of being intentional in my relationships and the things that I do, those kinds of things. So I feel like that has probably been something that I've kind of picked up on in the last couple of years. I've been praying about what the word would be for this coming year, but I'm still not sure yet. I still got a couple weeks, but.
Oh yeah, it'll come. God's pretty good like that. The New Year's resolution thing, I looked up this crazy stat, and there was they say 80% of New Year's resolutions fail within 36 days.
Yeah. So, and that's crazy to me because it takes 14 days for something to become a habit.
Yeah.
So
or 21 days to become a habit and 7 days.
Is that what it is?
7 days to break it. Yeah.
Yes.
Or
and
3
days
like, to break it.
Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think the biggest New Year's resolution, I think everybody has had this come across their plate, was the physical fitness. The
gyms go from 0 to 1,000.
Yeah.
I go to Planet Fitness, and I guarantee you, in January, it will be a madhouse for the first 4 weeks of January, and then February.
Yeah, it drops off.
There won't be anybody.
Well, most people. I mean, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I've done the New Year's fitness resolution, and I did it for 8 months, and then I got started in ministry, and literally didn't have any time because I was working 2 jobs because I was only a part-time worship leader, and but I did it for 8 months, and I felt the best I ever did. But the thing with the whole fitness thing is you have to be committed. You have to show up at the same time every single day.
Yeah.
But also changing your diet too. And so that's one of the things that a lot of people don't want to do is change their diet.
They just want to go to the gym.
They want to go to the gym, maybe get my heart rate up. I want to stand around. I want to look in the mirror at myself and, go to the sauna if the gym has a sauna, and make myself look like I'm sweating or whatever. Right. And then I want to take a selfie and then post it to social media and just be like, New Year, new me, but it is like the fitness goal is such a lifestyle commitment for anybody that goes and do that. So don't be deterred if this is your New Year's resolution. Don't be deterred by the fact that most people are going to give this up by February. Don't be deterred by you not seeing the results in the time that you want to see them. Stick with it. Make good decisions. You got this. Whenever the water's coming over your head, God is going to be there by your side. And, obviously you could do great things, continue to stick with it, and you'll see the change. You'll see the turnaround.
Yep.
And continue to make good decisions.
Yep.
But on that note, if you do make any resolution, I hope that you stick with it. I hope that this year you are able to cultivate better and deeper meaning relationships. I pray that your relationship with God grows deeper and stronger in your walk and in your relationship with Jesus as well. I pray that 2022 we see the end of COVID.
Whew, praise the Lord.
Which we probably won't, but I'm praying for it.
That's right.
Man, you got any well wishes you want to leave with people?
Golly. Just, man, take the time. Like, take the time to be with the people that you care about and that you, I think if anything, the last 2 years have taught us to take the time. Don't wait. Like, whatever that is, like, don't wait to come to a relationship with Christ. Don't wait to reach out to that person. Like, just, I feel like we have been so physically distanced. I say physically purposefully because we don't have to socially distance.
Yeah.
We can be social with social media. We can be social with Zoom. We can be social with all these phone calls and texts. Like, so I hate to say socially distanced, but we can still be social, but physically distanced. And so I think just being in, again, going back to that word intentional, just be intentional with the people that are in your life because they matter. And if anything, these last 2 years have just taught us to really cherish those memories and cherish those times with the people that we care about the most.
Yep.
So
that's good. I like it. Well, from all of us here at Southridge, we want to wish you a happy new year. We're looking forward to this year with such eager anticipation for all that God is going to do, not only just in our church and in our community, but just across the city and the state and the country. And we just believe that there's going to be an outpouring of God's Spirit, and people are going to come to know Him in a more intimate and a personal way. And we can't wait to see it. We can't wait to baptize more people.
That's right.
We can't wait to celebrate more salvations. We can't wait to celebrate the addictions that people are going to get freed from. We can't wait to celebrate new job opportunities. And it's just, God is good. God is faithful. And, hey, we'll see you next year. We're not taking a break, so we're just going to keep on mowing through these episodes. So, Happy New Year from all of us. Be safe tonight as you are celebrating your New Year's plans. And, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. And you can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.